Hello, everybody. My name is Bryan Quarrie, and I'm here to talk about behind the scenes information regarding the latest event that has happened at the church where I go to, which is Camp Hill Church in Birmingham. We've recently held a week-long 70th anniversary event, and it was, to put it lightly, it was very successful. Um, we have had anniversaries in the past, like for instance, the 60th anniversary 10 years ago and the 50th anniversary 20 years ago, in which it would normally happen on the weekend of that date. Now, the original date for the 70th anniversary was, I think it was the end of May this year, but because of various technical things that went on behind the scenes, um, it didn't actually happen on that date. So we had to postpone it until last week. And looking back on it now, it was a major success. And I'd say that because um, it went on for about 9 days altogether. Or should it be 10? No, I think about 9 days. So you've got the Saturday when it first started, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So altogether, that makes about 9 days, I'd say. So during the week, um, it followed the following format. Like, for instance, you would have um, a segment that talks about the past. So we would have someone from the audience, or the person that's leading out that segment, um, doing quizzes, or just providing some kind of some kind of icebreaker session, so people will start talking and reminiscing about their favorite memories when they were at Camp Hill back in the olden days. Um, and sometimes you would have guest persons who have been going to church ever since the days of the old Camp Hill Church, who would come to the platform and start to give their testimonies, and you know, all of us would engage with what's being said and everything. And so when it came to the Saturdays of the event, it would take the form of a church service. So we would have the Sabbath school, which on the second Saturday before it ended, it was taken from the desk. What that means is that instead of having Sabbath school um, being conducted by various groups within the audience, it was actually conducted from whoever was leading it out at the on the platform. Um, there were also other noteworthy um, moments during this event, like for instance, on the first Saturday or Sabbath, we call it, of the event, there was a huge baptism in which about 15 young people gave their lives to God, which is a very amazing sight to see. It was, obviously, um, we being from Camp Hill, we are proud of these individuals because they were also from Camp Hill as well. So it was really, really nice to see them take that bold step in Christ. Um, yeah. So right at the very end of the um, the event, it ended with a social, which happened at Harper Bell School, which is just across the road from our church. The social took the form of a health check, so people would uh, come to the building and get a free blood pressure check, those sort of things. And it also had a a like proper social event in which again people would reminisce about the olden days, and there will be some songs from various groups that were around Camp Hill at the time. And yeah, there were some technical issues that have happened during that day, but we'll get to that a bit later. Right, so the question is, what have I got to do with this? Well, you see, in the weeks following up to this event, I was in charge of putting together some videos that contain notable clips of various events that have happened in Camp Hill Church's lifetime. There were also some photos and scans that I managed to get from the internet that I've used on those videos. And these videos would be shown during the week, just before there would be the segment when um, like one of our pastors would come and do their keynote speeches. One thing I forgot to mention actually was that for every night during the week of the 70th anniversary, we would have a pastor that used to be um, one of the head pastors of the old Campbell Church and the new Campbell Church that would come up and start to do their sermon. And there were also other people who were involved in producing clips and photos, but for privacy reasons, I'm not going to mention their names. So, yeah, it was a very feature packed event. Um, I've been to the 60th anniversary, like I said, which was about 10 years ago. But the problem with that one was that because there was also another program, if you like, that was coinciding with that event, um, there wasn't really much um, in terms of substantial things to do with Camp Hill's history. Like, for instance, on the afternoon of that particular program, there was like a social event, but it wasn't as feature packed regarding testimonies, and so on. In fact, if anything, I don't think it was that well attended at all. But again, I'll talk about that some other time. Anyway, yeah, so during the week, I was helping out with the person that was in charge of communications, making sure that the videos were played at the right time. I must admit, though, the gear that we have at Camp Hill can sometimes look a bit intimidating. And even though I have worked in communications before, back in, I think it was 2015 up until 2018 or something like that. It was for about 3 years. Um, the equipment has changed so much between that time. Um, you know, to accommodate um, the newer, younger people who would be in charge of communications. And so when I was invited to help bits of it out here and there, I felt kind of intimidating because I'm a person that likes using PCs, sorry, but there are people who are used to using Apple Macs and so on. They both do the same thing. It's just that um, their operating systems and the way that you would use them to run applications is slightly different to the way that you would run Windows, for instance. But again, it was still a bit intimidating because of the way that everything was set up. In fact, uh, during during the week, that there were like one or two technical issues that have happened. Like, for instance, when it came to playing the short history video that I put together on the Friday night, um, it was embedded in Microsoft PowerPoint. But the problem was that even when we downloaded a clip from my Dropbox account, when we played it through Microsoft PowerPoint, it started to glitch somewhere in the middle of the clip. And I thought to myself, that's not normal. Because when you download something, or when you have downloaded a video clip, it should play from start to end flawlessly, but it didn't. Now, normally when you see something like that, you would assume that it's because a link to where it's stored online, that was what was causing it, instead of it being played directly from the file. But we checked, and it was actually played directly from the file. So there must have been something that was going on in the background on the Macintosh. Anyway, when it paused for about, I think it was about 5 seconds, but it felt longer than that because all we saw from the live streaming end was just a white screen. And when I saw that, I thought, oh my word, what's going on? So those 5 seconds felt like a minute to me, because in my mind, I was just wondering what was going on. But anyway, after the 5 seconds, it kept on playing from that point all the way through to the end. And at the end of the video, everyone, you know, I wouldn't say applauded. Everyone said their amens and so on. Giving us the impression that they liked the video and so on, which is great. Which is great. Yeah. Um, on the Sunday, towards the end of the event, during the social, um, there were some other videos that I prepared before that were supposed to be played on that event that unfortunately didn't got played. Now, the reason for that was because when I uploaded those videos onto my Dropbox, they were rendered as .mov files, those QuickTime video files. And when one of my colleagues, who was also in charge of the PA system at the social, um, uh, came across the links for those files, um, it was then discovered that those files were rendered in the wrong format. I think he was using a PC, like a laptop PC. And so I didn't notice that until the morning of the social event, which is the reason why I got down there a bit later than usual, because I was playing back those files on my widescreen TV, because it has like a USB socket on the back of it, which enables you to play media files through it. And the video part, sorry, the visual part of the video played back fine, but the audio sounded very crackly, very crackly. And I had to re-render those videos as MP4s. And so the next time I did that, it played well on my TV system. So I always use my TV as a reference monitor for all of the footage that I create um, on my system, so that I know for sure that it will work on other systems, like proper PA systems and so on. Right. So I went to the event. I found out also that the timing of the event was different to what I was given, which meant that when I got down there, it was already starting. And yeah, it was a bit complicated from that point onwards. So because of that, we didn't play those videos in the end, and I was really looking forward to that, because um, the videos that I was supposed to be playing on that event were more expanded versions of the historical videos that was played during the week at the church. Um, it's expanded because I wanted to cover various events that were not covered um, at the 60th or the 50th anniversary events. Events um, such as the cultural weekends that we used to have back in the 1990s, various musical groups that didn't just play music in church but also had an influence outside of the five walls of the church. For instance, there's one particular musical group that also produced an LP and had a really, really lovely picture on the front cover on the front cover of it. So that was what I wanted to emphasize as well. Um, there were also other clips in those videos that talk about the various ministries that Camp Hill is famed for, like, for instance, the Soup Kitchen and the Pathfinder Club and those sort of things. And I managed to capture some very good images and videos of those as well. Um, it had to be produced in two parts, and the reason for that was because there were so many things that I covered there that altogether the video would have been about 45 minutes long. And so for it to be more digestible, I decided to split it in half. Um, on the run up to the events, there were loads and loads and loads of other things, aspects of church life that I wanted to include on this video. But again, it would mean that the length of the video would be just far too long to watch in one sitting. Also, because of safeguarding reasons, it was originally agreed that this video would be played in person instead of online. But after a conversation with the leader for communications at church, um, he and I came to the agreement that there will be, or hopefully there should be, some kind of platform where this video will be screened in its entirety. Unfortunately, because we have finished doing the 70th anniversary program, um, no one has actually seen this video, not even my family. The only persons who have seen it from beginning to end were a select group of people from the committee who have assisted me in, checking whether it was okay and so on. And I even did a test, a YouTube test, if you want to call it that, in which I uploaded it to one of my YouTube channels just to see if YouTube came up with any copyright notices or anything. And it only came up with one, but it also said that the owner of the material has allowed me to use it in YouTube, to be used in a YouTube setting. So yeah, that's basically talking about the various ups and downs regarding this. Regarding whether this video will be played or not, well, at the moment, I'm leaving it up to the committee. They will come back to me about whether the video will be played, and they will tell me when it will be played and how it will be played. Obviously, the sooner the better, because as one person said to me, it's best to strike the iron while it's hot. So yeah, it'll be very, very nice when that time actually comes. Yeah. So there are other things that I'd like to talk about regarding how this video was made, and I was using DaVinci Resolve Studio. This was my first major project using that particular app. For the last 11 years, I was using Sony Vegas, which later on became Magix Vegas. But for this particular project, I decided to ditch Vegas in order to use DaVinci Resolve, and the reason for that is because I was getting a bit tired of the really sluggish performance of Vegas. It was just I put up with it for several years, and I decided enough was enough. So I decided to use something new to create it with. Um, there are elements of the video where I use Google Earth, and just to use to describe various historical references regarding where Camp Hill used to be um, before where it is at the moment, which is in a place called Spark Brook, which is very far away from here. Camp Hill used to be located not as a physical church, but as a company of people in a place called Mansell Road, which is in Small Heath, where I used to live. Um, After a while, it was inside a private house, but because the amount of people that were attending that gathering got bigger, um, it was not feasible to use that building as a church because it's a private house. So, so this company of believers um, decided to worship in various other places, like a cooperative hall or um, a room above a butcher shop off the Stratford Road. And so um, one of the members found a building that was an ex-Presbyterian building, which was located off Stratford Road in Spark Brook, and the building was vacant for a number of years. And so, with the help of pastors and um, and the members, they managed to purchase the building for around £7,500 at that time. That was back in 1955. And so the building was officially opened um, around the same year after um, some refurbishments and um, you know um, painting and all of that stuff had to be done. And so that was our church up until 1987. Unfortunately, in 1987, the church got burnt down because it was either, and this is just speculating, it was either because of a gas fault or because of an arson attack. But right up to this day, we still don't know. We still don't know. Around the same time, the council imposed I think it was an order of some sort that tells us that a new road is about to be laid um, where the old Campbell Church was standing at that time. So in a way, whoever burnt the church down, in a way, did us a favor, even though it's a horrible way of doing it. But there you go. And so um, while the new Campbell Church was being built and the old Campbell Church was still standing, even though it was burnt down, the the parishioners, if you like, the worshippers, had to worship in a different church. So it was through one of our previous pastors. Again, I'm not going to mention any names because of privacy reasons. He knew people, and this particular person that he knew did him a favor of loaning his church so that we could worship in it until the new Campbell Church was built. So that was basically a very short story of how Campbell Church came to be. And because over a period of time from the time when it was opened officially in 1987, the church got so large that people came out of that church and formed smaller churches as well. And, these churches became our sister churches. Yes, so going back to my involvement, in order for me to get all of this information, I um, I had to go online and look for any ancient um, clips of Adventism, how it started in this country, and locate um, locate any pictures, any documents, any scans, or anything like anything like that, so I could use in the film. And I also had help from one of my sisters who actually had this. It was a yearbook that was given to people during the 50th anniversary. So that was like back in 2005. And there was a lot of information that I used from that yearbook, particularly the beginning, the introduction to it, which was then used on the historical 7 minute film that I created for the church itself when it was played during the week inside of the church. Um, in order to create that particular short film, there was a lot of things that I had to take out from the original footage. For instance, I took out anything to do with the social aspect of the church because of where it was to be screened. For instance, the cultural weekends and various other things. And because I had a very limited time to actually show this film, um, I decided to just use the intro segment, because the intro segment, which is also from that yearbook from from the 50th anniversary, very much perfectly sets the scene of what was to happen during the 70th anniversary. Regarding the original vision the um, for the video that was to be used for the social, um, instead of having it, you know, from start to beginning about the highs and the highs and the highs, there needed to be some kind of structure from you know from an emotional point of view, because obviously I talk about when Camp Hill Church got burnt down. I also talk about the effects of COVID towards the end of the video, and I managed to download a video of Boris Johnson, who was the MP around 2020, um, giving a national address regarding how to live our lives during the COVID period around 2020. And the most famous thing that he said was, "You must stay at home." And so I purposely took that particular part of the clip and I was interjecting it with stills of how Birmingham used to be during the time of the COVID. And also, I took clips of how we used to run church because of COVID, because there was a time when we didn't really have church at all. Well, I wouldn't say we didn't really have church at all, but because of COVID restrictions, we were not allowed to meet in person. So everything was done virtually using Zoom. And yeah, I was talking about that in the video as well, and also the fact that there are people who've been with Campbell Church for a long time who have passed, and so I made like a little tribute video regarding that as well. And then it ends with a song by the AY Singers, with one of their very famous songs that they used to sing during the 1980s and 70s, "Some Beautiful Day." And that's basically the gist of it. So basically, when you watch this video, it starts off with a very basic overview of the history of Camp Hill, um, its beginnings, and then it talks about the various um, Bible workers and pastors who served Camp Hill from the mid 1950s up until the present day. And there was even a segment in there where I talk about elements of the old Campbell Church that were incorporated into the new Campbell Church. For instance, um, the stained glass window that was at the back of the front, if you like, of the auditorium in the old Campbell Church. In the new Campbell Church, parts of that same stained glass window was recreated and placed at the roof in the new Camp Hill Church. So I mentioned that. Um, and then it goes on to talk about the soup kitchen, other ministries that have been going on for many, many years. And then it goes from there to the music side of things, where you got groups like Oasis, um, Friends Forever, the church choir, the male voice choir, and so on. And so that's basically part one. Part two, you get like an extension of the music section, where I talk about the musicians who have extended outside of church, performed outside of church, and so on. There's one particular group that I had to put in there called Eternal Praise. Now, Eternal Praise um, was originally an offshoot, if you like, of the AY Singers. But what had happened around that time was that we had an influx of Africans and Caribbean students coming into this country, and some of them formed this special choir called Eternal Praise. And Eternal Praise went on for about, I'd say, about 5 years after that. And unfortunately, they disbanded afterwards. But there was a particular performance they did, which was outside of church. In fact, it was at Birmingham Town Hall back in 2010. The name of the concert that they performed at was called Birmingham Inspired, and that was created by one of our distinguished members from Camp Hill Church, who later on had to, not had to, she flew from the UK and lived in Jamaica because there was a job opening for her. Good for her. And after that segment, you then get a part where I talk about the Brent Sabbath School that my mum used to run when that was um, located in Small Heath. So you see the connection between what was going on in Small Heath at the time with what was going on with Camp Hill, because my mum was a very prominent member of Camp Hill Church. She did all sorts of things while there as well. She used to lead Sabbath school. She used to lead, um, various singing groups. She was part of the church choir. But this one was probably her most important because um, she and some friends of hers led this branch Sabbath school in which it all began in Small Heath. A lot of the children that went to this branch Sabbath school were not exactly members from Camp Hill Church. In fact, they weren't members from Camp Hill Church until later on. They were actually kids from the local community. And my mom, she had, she was a very approachable person in the community. In fact, when she passed, um, there were people who knew her who somehow knew about her death, and they came to the funeral as well, which was back in, I think it was 2011 when she died. Yeah, yeah, it was 2011 because the London 2012 Olympics was the following year, so that's how I know about that. Yeah, so after we talk about the Brand Sabbath School, it then talks about when Camp Hill started live streaming their services. And it's from this point where I say that little did they know that what they were doing at that time would prove to be more important, as 2020 had COVID and people were tuning in to church services more than actually um, coming to church in person because of the COVID um, the COVID limitations. So yeah, that's basically how I put the video together. Um, I'm hoping that someday this video will be available to watch, either in person or online. Um, but yeah, all in all, it was a very large undertaking. In order to get some of those clips and photos and so on, I had to contact um, a number of people. There was one particular person that I contacted regarding clips um, related to projects such as The Witness, for instance, in which I didn't know that he was not in Birmingham anymore. In fact, um, you know, looking at my phone, I'm very surprised that his number was still ringing, and his number was still active, and he was surprised that I managed to get through to him, because typically when a person leaves um, your city or whatever, and they tend to start a new life, and they get rid of their old phone number and all of that stuff, unless of course they got important colleagues that they still connect with. Well, anyway, I was great. I was very grateful to get through to him, and we had a very good chat and everything, talking about the good old days and everything. And he gave me his blessing to use those clips in my video, which is great. There was another person that I contacted, in which I needed to use his theme music for the video as well. Um, he was also a member of a group that I used to be a part of, a musical group called Oasis. He was one of our guitarists, and there was a particular song that he created called "Never Forget Your Past," which was also used on the 50th anniversary event on their DVD. And so I thought to myself, well, because the sentiments of that song were still pertinent, I'd like to use it. So I contacted him. Um, yeah, so at that time he was actually holidaying in Canada, and I didn't know that, so I had to, be aware of what time I was calling him. So again, he managed to give me his blessings to use the song, as long as he's mentioned um, in the video as well, which I have done. Right, and also there was a picture or two, and also an audio recording of a song by the Young Hope Children's Choir. There was a particular person who was the leader of that choir back in I think it was the mid 1980s. Yeah, the early to mid 1980s. And again, we were talking about this event, had a good chat about, the things that we got up to and everything. And so I got her permission to use that as well. And there were a number of other people who have been involved in this video project that again I've credited them on the video, and I'm very, very happy, and they're happy that they were of assistance. However, because the videos wasn't played at the social, um, I still feel a bit raw, because of that, because it was my fault. And for those people who were at the event, um, I do apologize to them, because I should have got there early. So there you go. Um, my issue with this video being played is that I don't want to give people the impression that I've already got an inflated ego, and that this is all about me, 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 me. No, it's not. I mean, there are people who would like to watch this video. I have spread the word far and wide with various people about this video to be played at the social, and unfortunately, it didn't come to pass because of technical reasons, myself. And so we are still planning to play this video at some stage. And when you see this video, I hope that they will enjoy it. I hope that more um, memories from the past, good memories from the past, will come back, and just bring a smile on their faces. Okay, this was Bryan Quarrie talking about the making of the video that has not been played yet. The title of the video is called a celebration of our history. So yeah, look out for it when it becomes available to watch. Take care of yourself. See you later.